Really nice. Now the next one with ending zoom. Now at the end of my introduction, the Mr. Matt and Mr. Chay zooms into the screen in front of you. How did I do that? And to be honest, I can't remember. Let's have a look at the timeline. So we've got a few other bits on the end here now. So what I'm showing you now is this part. Done all that. Is this part here, where the Mr. Matt and Mr. Chay zooms and it all goes to a neutral blue. And Mr. Matt and Mr. Chay has come up, it's screeched to a halt, and we're looking at this part here. Now you see the background, it fades out, and the Mr. Matt and Mr. Chay then sort of like merges into that blue layer. Let's look at that. So I've got a nested sequence here. Let's look at the nested sequence. A nested sequence is a way of copying all the layers and doing something else with them. I have selected my carriage, the Mr. Matt and Mr. Chay with the arrows, and not included the rope. I can do a right click and I can do a copy of that. Then I can paste it into a nested sequence. Let's look at the nested sequence. The nested sequence is just this tab here, and let's just play it. That's it. That's all it does. So my nested sequence here contains all of the layers that were here. Like that. And I can bring that nested sequence back into the original timeline, and there it is. So let's just turn that layer off just to show you. Layer on, layer off. There is my Mr. Matt, Mr. Chay carriage, but now I can start zooming it. Let's just go select that nested sequence and just have a look to see what I've done with it. And you can see that the carriage has got slightly larger. Let's move it along a bit further. Larger still, larger still. So what we have is a start and an end point. So the start points are these two dots you can see on the left here. Let's just move to them. That's the starting position, and that's where the carriage come to rest when it came up the shaft. By the time it reaches this position, I want my nested layer, which contains all of these layers, to be in position 519 by minus 45, and the scale is now nearly 600. So I've zoomed into it 6 times, and that's why it's just the and bit in the middle. So to get this to go into the right position, it's quite easy really. All you do is you just start at a position. So let's do 640 by 360. I'm just going to change the end position so it's in exactly the same place. And change the scale back to 100. So now the size does not change, but it tilts. Now that's just another, I think that's a transition I put on there to make it do that. But the size and the scale do not change. Let's just have a look to see how I did that. Oh, there we go. To make it appear to tilt upwards, I've applied an effect called Basic 3D. If you type into the effects section here, 3D, it filters it, and I've used this effect here. So I've gone Basic 3D and I've clicked and dragged it into my nested layer. So that's how the wording appears to come towards you. Like that, and then it goes berserk at the end. But by that time I think I've faded it out completely, so you don't actually see that. You see the carriage seems to disappear there. That's probably because if I go into the nested layer, yes, I've applied the carriage as a separate layer, so I can control that. So that one fades out between here and this position. The nested sequence starts its fade out from the beginning to the end. And the down arrow, what I've done is I've put this on top of the nested sequence. If you go back to the original sequence, you see my up arrow is now in front of the A. If I went to one of my original files, the up arrow is actually behind the A, and it just makes it look a little bit better. So the A is in front, so you can definitely see the up and the down arrow. So now it's just a position to sort out. The basic 3D, I've again got a start position and an end position. So at the start of this little sequence here, there is no swivel, no tilt, and no what's that, distance to something or other. I can't quite see that. When I move to the end position, the tilt is at minus 76, and the distance to whatever that is at minus 57. And if I wanted it to finish somewhere else, if I just add another dot, I can then choose something different. So there we go, let's have it going upside down. So just as an example, it's now going to go upside down to this position here, and then I'll tell you what, let's move that dot to the middle so it changes the way it works slightly. So now it goes upside down to this position here, and then it continues round. But anyway, you get the idea. That's the basic 3D. I'm just going to put it back the way it was, remove the dot there. So now we need this to zoom in. We put a dot at the beginning of the sequence, and we tell it what we want it to do by the end of the sequence. So I'm just going to put it there. Just going to put a dot in that position. There it is. I'm going to zoom that in to, well, let's not go in too far here. Let's just do 400. So now the scale changes. So that 100 is the starting position, and it's going up to the end dot, and I wanted 400. So now it's zoomed in. But the Mr. Matt and Mr. Chay is too far down the screen. I need a position change. I'm going to put another dot above that into the position column, and I'm just going to play with these numbers. So it's not quite in the middle of the screen. Let's move it up to the middle of the screen. And then the position, left and right position, I'm going to move that along as well. So let's just do that sequence again. Now it moves towards you because the scale is increasing. The tilt effect is active as well, which is down here. So now it starts to tilt, and it's still zooming in, and then it's extremely zoomed in right at the end. So that's how I did the zoom sequence at the end with my name coming into the picture. Don't forget, I've also got a color layer which is blue. If I were to do that 100% at the beginning of the sequence, that's how it would look. But I'm increasing that layer gradually. So if I were just to keep that on, it would just do this. But again, I want this to fade in gradually, so let's just have a look at it at 0% at the start, and then by the time this is fully zoomed in, it's now completely blue, and that is because this number has reached nearly 100 by the end. So that's my color layer fading up. You notice that the ropes have gone as well. The ropes must be one of these other ones here, probably this one. That's the shading. So where are my ropes? Possibly video 2. Yep, there they are. So there's the rope layer, and that will be fading out towards the end, and also the shading will be fading out as well. Right, so that explains the zoom in sequence at the end. The last Adobe Premiere file here is 07, and this contains the whoosh. The whoosh, I think I did a search on the internet and I found a whoosh sound.